Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. In case you are new here, hi, my name is Bia and I am incredibly passionate about makeup. On today's video, I am going to share with you my top 15 makeup tips that have completely transformed my makeup game. But before, don't forget to subscribe to my channel in case you haven't already, and also to leave this video a like because it helps me a ton as a content creator. Let's start with the basics, shall we? Having a good skincare in place is the deal breaker for the longevity and the performance of your makeup. Your makeup quality might be through the roof, but if your skincare is not there yet, your makeup is still not going to look good. Just find a routine that works for you. It doesn't have to be super complex. It doesn't have to have like 12 steps or anything crazy like that, but make sure that you tackle any issue that your skin might have that affects your makeup performance. Like for me, for instance, I have a super oily T-zone, so I know that I cannot go in with any heavy moisturizers, and sometimes if it gets too crazy, I know that I have to go in with a product that helps me control my oils. Either that might be my moisturizer, a certain active, or even a primer. And then, listen, I feel like everybody neglects this one because people just don't realize how important this is. Wait a few minutes before going in with makeup after you apply all of your skincare. It is essential to let your skincare sink into the skin and, give your skin some time to absorb the skincare and just kind of deal with it. Because if you go right away with makeup, you might find it separating, peeling off, or just looking weird and textured. I like to give my skin a good 5 minutes to 10. Sometimes I only give it like 5 minutes because I'm a little bit impatient, I'm not gonna lie. But this time I applied my skincare way before I even started filming because I took a little bit of time to start filming today. Listen, my eyes were super swollen this morning and they said, honey, we need time. So yeah, that goes to say that I'm more than ready for makeup at this point. For foundation, I have been loving to use this one. This is the NARS Light Reflecting Foundation. I know that people with combination and even oily skin say that this is not a great foundation for them, but if you find that you love a finish of a foundation, but you are too oily to use it, what you can do is to go in with a mattifying primer in those critical areas before going in with a foundation. Listen, in the summer, I get super oily and I need to go in with a mattifying primer to be able to rock like glowy and natural finishes because, honey, I am not a matte girly. Right now, it has been so cold though that my skin is kind of more balanced, like my skincare is doing the job by itself. And guys, I love it so much that I've emptied one and this is already my restock. NARS complexion products are just amazing. I am still trying to scrape off whatever is left in here. The amount of makeup looks that I've done with scraped off foundation that I can no longer get from the pump is actually insane. To apply it, I am going in with this foundation brush from Zoeva. This is their new edition and this one is the 104 foundation buffer. Like the brushes are the same, the new edition is like the new design, Off to the first actual makeup technique. Sticking to thin layers for the sake of your makeup longevity and for the sake of not looking cakey in general. Instead of going in with a ton of foundation and kind of build the coverage up, I just choose something that already has the amount of coverage that I want so that I can go in with thin layers. Applying thin layers of makeup is one of the key things that can make or break your makeup longevity. So, just choose something that has a level of coverage that matches your preference and just stick to it instead of trying to build a full coverage out of a sheer foundation. And I know that Meredith uses a ton of makeup, and if you don't know who she is, she's this iconic TikToker that goes in with like 10 pumps of foundation. But guys, listen, the only reason why it works is because she goes in with a clean damp sponge, because this will absorb any excess that you have on your skin. And still, it is still quite a bit of makeup, and I've tried her technique myself on my TikTok page, and in case you guys don't follow me, I always leave the links down below in the description. And yeah, it looks a little bit cakey. It is not the best technique in my opinion, especially if you want your makeup to last and look a little bit better. The next technique that I have in storage is one that I don't see enough people talking about, and this makes the world of a difference, which is doing tapping motions to apply the products instead of swiping the brush like this. Doing this will lift so much texture. If you have dry patches or any sort of texture in general, it will make it stand out even more. And even if you don't have texture, like I honestly don't have that much texture on my skin, if I do that, I leave texture that wasn't even there to begin with. And if you are doing that on formulas that you are applying on top of your foundation, you are also going to lift your foundation, mix everything, and just end up looking super muddy. So regardless of you using a sponge or a brush, and regardless of the formula, just stick to tapping motions, because that way you are pressing things into the skin instead of just smearing them around and like bringing everything with it. When I was getting into makeup, I would do that to apply my foundation, and guys, I would look like a hot mess, and I would have all of this texture on my skin, and I would always wonder, why is this happening to me? Even though you might see beauty gurus doing that, it is just for the sake of it looking more satisfying on camera. And especially with a sponge, for the Lord's sake, just don't do it. Listen, dragging a sponge is like 1,000 times worse, because the sponge, besides like dragging the product, will also absorb it, and then you will end up being like, why don't I have any coverage? Why do I look so textured? Listen, I am going to try not to talk too much, because if there is one thing that I'm good at, it is talking way too much and just kind of rambling on topics like I'm doing right now. This next one I prefer to do before my foundation. Sometimes I do it after. I've already done it because my dark circles were very aggressive today. Listen, they were deep, which is to color correct before my concealer. Back in the day, I used to only go in with a full coverage concealer, and for some reason that I now understand, my under eye area will always look super gray and ashy, and it is because I have very deep dark circles even if I sleep like 12 hours a day. And if you are like me and you have any sort of pigmentation that you find that often peeks through your makeup, try color correcting before going in with concealer. I like to use this color correction palette from NYX. You can see this shade that I definitely use the most. It is the peach shade, which is kind of the best one for my dark circles, but this one is pretty close, and since my dark circles have been way deeper, I have been going in with this one too, and this will allow me to go in with way less concealer and way less foundation if I have any pigmentation on some other area, like for instance a pimple or something like that. This has been my best friend, and like whenever I apply my concealer, this area doesn't look ashy at all. Like it just looks flawless, and it looks like the concealer's shade. My favorite bronzer so far has been this one, especially for the winter time in which I am so pale, guys. This is the Laguna bronzing cream in the shade 02, which is what I believe to be the equivalent to the classic Laguna shade, and I have been loving this formula because it blends so easily, it looks super natural. And guys, I almost forgot about this technique, but one thing that I've been finding that helps me so much is to apply my bronzer before my concealer. This was something that I only started doing, I think that was last year around summertime. Whenever I would apply my concealer before my creamy bronzer, I would always find that I couldn't sculpt my face that much, and doing things on this order like just helps me snatch my face a lot better and keep a lot more precision, because it is way easier to go like too high with the bronzer than it is to go in too low with the concealer. Does that make sense? It just helps me with the product placement on my face. I also like to apply my blush before my concealer because I like to bring my blush into the under eye area, but that's like my personal preference because I love that pink under eye area, so that kind of helps me achieve it since I don't have pink powder. Oh, and by the way, applying the bronzer before the concealer also helps me so much when it comes to snatching my nose, which is something that if you have seen any of my other videos, you know that has been my little struggle over the years. Guys, I completely forgot what I was saying. I even paused to think about it, but my mom always said, listen honey, if it was that important, you would remember. So I'm just going in with the theory that whatever I was saying was just not that crucial for human existence. Wait, I was talking about my blush application. I am moving on to that now. So I am going in with a Rare Beauty blush in the shade Joy. I love this because it is so pigmented, and trust me, I'm not going in with more. I'm just kind of like spreading it out a little bit. And as I was saying, it is so pigmented that it's easier for me to have that pink under eye area, because once I apply the concealer, it is not going to be completely covered, you know? I don't bring it closer than this, but yeah, this is pretty good already. If my hair would just leave me alone for a second, that would be lovely. After concealer, I'm going in with a combo that I haven't used in a hot minute and that I absolutely love, which is the NARS Radiant Creamy Concealer. And I am just now noticing that I'm using mostly NARS stuff, but guess what? I love them. They are like my favorite complexion brand. I would say, yeah, I would definitely say that. They are definitely my favorite complexion brand, and I have a lot of stuff from them that I have been kind of collecting over the years. And I am going in with the shade Madeline. Hopefully it will work for me, but I'm so pale right now that I feel like this is going to be a little bit too dark. I'm just going in with a lighter shade on top to brighten it up. This is kind of like my shade right now. It is slightly lighter than the foundation, but not even close to as light as I need it. Another technique that I have been loving to do, guys, is to do that face lifting trend that I've seen going around on TikTok so much, and probably so did you, that basically just consists of applying a little bit of concealer in here in here. This one got me good the first time. I was like, no way this is going to work. This just looks weird. And a little bit in here and in here to kind of clean the bronzer. This one I have been doing for a hot minute because you guys know that I'm messy whenever I'm applying my makeup and I usually need to clean some stuff. And yeah, like I don't apply on my eyes because after the eyeshadows, I just don't feel like that works and makes a big difference because like everything is covered. But if you are going in with a no eyeshadow look, that might be for you. In case you guys don't know what I'm saying, that technique also applied a little bit of concealer in here and also a little bit in here. I don't like to apply in here because I have a super large frame. So if I do that, instead of lifting, I just feel like it makes my head look a little bit bigger. Okay, so I am mixing a little bit of Chantilly, which is a super light shade. In between is where I am at right now. Can you believe that Madeline used to be my go-to shade? I need a 10. I need to go to Bora Bora. I need Maldives. You know what I'm saying? Because in here, like, it has been raining way too much. I don't like to take this too far in or too far out because instead of lifting, that will just make me look cakey around my mouth. Wait, did I just do a straight line? Who is she? The same sponge to blend it out. I just try to use different size every time. Also, if you are one of those people who like to let your concealer dry before blending it, what are you doing? If there is one thing that I absolutely love about filming for YouTube is that I don't have to be constantly reminding myself that I can only speak for 3 minutes, as it happens on TikTok. It brings me a lot of joy. Like, do you see? It is so much easier just to go in with concealer on top and kind of clean the edges whenever you go with way too much blush or just bronzer or anything like that. And everything just looks like it is coming from underneath. And like, do you see the lifting that is happening on my face? It makes such a big difference. Another thing that I have been seeing a lot of people neglecting, and I don't feel like this is a trick that it's talked about enough or talked about at all, honestly, is to buff the edges of your bronzer. Sharp lines are just not it, you know? But instead of buffing it with a sponge, with your bronzer brush, with a little bit of concealer, take your foundation brush. This is the best thing to buff it out because it is the middle shade, so it's going to buff things out without dragging the light of the concealer or the darkness from the bronzer like too far into each other. Just do tapping motions on top of the edge. You are not going to make the bronzer go away. You are just going to buff out this edge so flawlessly. Like, do you see the difference? I always like to do it as well on the jawline. Moving on to the next technique. This one has helped me so much when it comes to longevity of my makeup, which is to go in with setting spray as you go. I like to go in with it after all the cream formulas are applied, like right now, and then after all the powders. And I feel like if I set things as I go, my makeup is just going to last so much longer. And for the first layer, I am going in with this one from NYX. This is the one with the dewy finish. Because once again, even though I have combination skin, my skin has been feeling a little bit more dry because of the weather. And besides the longevity, obviously, I feel like applying setting spray as you go also helps everything melting together, making it look a little bit more like skin. Obviously, if you have makeup, you are going to look like you are wearing makeup, but it just melts everything together and into the skin and gives it a more natural finish. That's what I mean. Okay, listen. This next one, I would dare to say that is the #1 reason why people tend to look cakey, which is not to let your skin dry completely before going in with setting powder. When your skin is this wet, and even if it is just slightly humid still, it is going to pick up so much product. It is going to make you look super cakey and crease a lot more. It is just going to give you a ton of texture. Listen, it is one of the things that will make your makeup look the worst if you do it. So instead, just allow it to dry until you feel like it is not getting any drier before going in with setting powder. I know that sometimes we are in a rush, but that will literally ruin your makeup. For setting powder, I am taking the Huda Beauty Easy Bake. For reference, I use it in the shade Pound Cake. And I completely forgot to say this, but my foundation is in the shade Fiji. Along the same line of the last makeup technique that I said, this is kind of like an extension to that technique, is your first layer of powder should be really thin. Like, think about thin enough just to dry your makeup, because while your skin is still humid, regardless of how much you allow it to dry, like, you only have creams on, so it is is still going to be humid. So go in with a very thin layer of product, because this is the moment in which your skin is going to pick up the most product, the most powder, if you will. So go in with a thin layer first. Even if you want to bake afterwards, that is completely fine. But on the first layer, going in with a little amount of product will prevent you from looking cakey and heavy. You can go in with a powder puff or with a powder brush, but first I honestly have been gravitating more towards the powder brush, and then I go in with a powder puff on top and to do the baking part. And this one is also from Zoeva. It is the 106. And do you remember the tapping motions? That one is crucial when it comes to the setting powder. If you swipe the brush on top, you are going to lift the creams and mix it with the powder, and that, honey, will give you so much texture, like texture that you have never seen before. Doing tapping motions to apply products is probably one of the techniques that I have been preaching the most on, but guys, it is the one that makes like the biggest difference if you ask me, and it is one that involves every step of your makeup routine. And by the way, if you end up trying any of the techniques that I'm recommending you, and if anything surprises you, let me know all about it in the comments. Because some techniques I've heard some other people talk about, but like some of them, not really. Oh, and by the way, before applying any setting powder on the under eye area, just make sure that you blend the creases. The inner corner is way harder to reach, so I'm just going in with a powder puff. I'm just going to give my skin a few minutes to dry completely before going in with the baking. That's something that I personally love to do. I think that it truly helps. So in the meantime, I'm going to apply some powder bronzer, and this one has been my best friend lately. It is the Urban Decay Beach Bronzer in the shade Sunkissed. And guys, look at how much I have been loving it. Another technique that I want to mention that might make you look super patchy is going in with too much product at a time. Especially when it comes to powder bronzer and powder blush, just make sure that you build it little by little, and once again do the goddamn tapping motions, because if you go in with a ton of product, even though our skin is pretty dry at this point, it is going to be way harder to blend, and it is probably going to look super patchy. And also, even though you are doing tapping motions, whenever you are applying the bronzer in this area, make sure that you are not bringing it downwards, that you are kind of like bringing it upwards. Start applying it in the area in which you want most of the pigment, and then when the brush pretty much has nothing on it, do tapping motions towards your highlight spot. For you guys to see the extent of my tapping motions, even to apply the baking, I do tapping motions. And by the way, don't forget to blend out the edges of your baking, because baking adds brightness and you do not want this sharp line in here. While I was off camera, I filled in my brows, and now I am going in with this Milani blush. This is the Baked Powder Blush in the shade Luminoso, and this is what the shade looks like. I am trying this for the first time, and I filmed my first impressions for TikTok. And I'm going to share it with you because you guys are my ride or die. I love the formula. It definitely only adds like a flush of color. It's not like a super pigmented blush, but it adds this really nice flush of color that looks super natural. And one thing that I love about this product is the luminosity that it adds. I don't think that the camera captures it very well, because honestly, this type of equipment never captures glow a lot, but I think that you can definitely see it. I honestly love it, and I cannot wait to like apply the setting spray to see how everything looks like when melted together. I am not going to apply highlighter because I want to see like the luminosity of the blush at least until like the end. Maybe in the end I will add a little bit of highlighter. But one of the things that I love is to mix my highlighter with my blush, because I love to have like a messier highlighter application. It is a trick that I use. I wouldn't say that it's a makeup technique. It is one of those things that I do to match my personal preference, because I do not like a precise highlighter application. I like the glow to look like it's coming from within and being a little bit more spread across the face. So I kind of like tend to have a messier highlighter application and go for pinkier highlighters so that they can merge better into the blush. But yeah, this blush kind of does both because it is very luminous. I don't think that I said this on this video, but the only thing that I will say about this product is that it has a little bit too much kickback. But honestly, for the price point, this is a very affordable blush, and it has such a beautiful finish that for the price point, I honestly do not care. For eyeshadows, I am taking the Naked Cherry from Urban Decay. I have been loving to use this eyeshadow palette. It has been one of my go-tos. I have been loving to get back into like rosier shades, and I am only going to do part of the eye look with you probably. I don't know, should I do the whole thing? I don't know. But I just wanted to show you something that completely transformed my makeup application and that took my eye makeup to the next level. So I have hooded eyes. I don't have extremely hooded eyes, but as you can barely see, I don't have much lid space because this skin is literally falling on top of my lid. And back in the day when I was getting into makeup, I would only apply the shimmer on my lid, and I was like, I have so much canvas to work with in here, and why are my eyeshadows looking so like too close to my eyes? They just look weird. They look nothing like what I see online. And the reason being is I was following my natural crease instead of finding my eye socket. So to find your eye socket, which is the area in which you want to fake a crease, aka apply your transition shade, you want to kind of look a little bit back and keep the mirror like this. And do you see like this part in which the angle changes, like your skin stops going inwards and starts going outwards? Like this is your eye socket, you know? And this is the area in which you want to apply your transition shade. Before, I would apply my crease shade so low that it will just drag my eyes down. And when you are applying your shimmer as well, you can look back a little bit and you take your shimmer until your eye socket instead of just keeping it on your lid like this. This is one of those things that definitely changed my makeup application so much. It was kind of a dramatic difference. And by the way, I'm using a 228 from Zoeva. I love this brush. It is my favorite blending brush, and I have been hyping it for years at this point. After this placement, you can just look ahead in the mirror to see how your makeup is going to look like in the end, because this is how you are going to normally be. And when you do, you will find your eye makeup looking so much more lifted and kind of opening up your eyes so much instead of making them look a lot more closed. I'm just swinging it out towards my temples when the brush has pretty much nothing on it. I'm going to add a little bit of depth on the outer V, and for that I am taking Devilish, which is this shade right here. And I am using a 227 also from Zoeva. I honestly love to mix these eyeshadows because I feel like this kind of brings some sunset vibes. I am also applying it on my eye socket. I am just using a more precise brush, even though this was not my best choice because this brush is getting a little bit older, so it's getting a lot more fluffy. Yeah, I find my eye socket and I always apply the depth in there. Whenever I try to do a cut crease, even though I could do a cut crease, I was following my eye shape and they will just look so small and weird, and that was why, because I didn't follow the goddamn socket. Going in with a more precise brush, this is from Japanese and it is the shadow brush. Off to the shimmer, and I am taking this one. This is called Turn On, and I am going to apply it with my finger because it is kind of the best way to apply shimmers. And once again, I am turning my head a little bit like this, and I'm going in with a shimmer until up there. Taking a brush for the edges. If I was to apply it just on my lid, I would just apply it in this area in here. And do you see the difference where that area finishes and where I actually took it? I'm going to top the shimmer with the Rare Beauty highlighter in the shade Mesmerize. I love to use this highlighter as my shimmer or just as a top coat to my shimmer whenever I'm doing a pink makeup look because it makes it look so much more reflective. With a pencil brush, this is the 230, also from the new Zoeva edition. I am applying it on the inner corner, the beginning of my crease. I love doing this because it brightens up the eyes so much, and also the brow bone. With the Japanese detailer brush, I am applying Privacy, which is this very deep matte shade, right next to my lash line to add some depth. I'm just going to apply a brown pencil on my waterlines, and applying a dark pencil on the waterline is also part of a technique that I want to teach you guys about, if you will, which is basically going to give you the best result to any mascara that you try to apply. And the first step is definitely this. Off to the next makeup tip that completely transformed my life, especially because of the hooded eye situation, which is to always apply the mascara after the setting spray and after it is completely dry. Listen, once I apply the mascara, no more setting spray is going into this face. And I also bought this one from Milani when I bought the blush. This is the Milani Make It Last. It has a natural finish and it is supposed to give you a 16-hour wear to your makeup. It smells so good, guys. And doing the last round of setting spray before the mascara is going to prevent it from smudging. If you apply your mascara and then go in with setting spray, it is going to get your mascara wet and it's going to smudge so much faster and so much more easily throughout the day. And that was something that I was constantly struggling with, and then I realized that it was because I was doing that. And also, if you do this and you still find your mascara smudging, you can always, after everything is done, go in with a little bit of setting powder in the area that it tends to transfer to, because if the skin is completely dry there, it is way less likely to transfer. Moving on to the next tip, which is related to mascara. I told you guys to apply a dark pencil on the waterline to make your lashes look a lot lot more full, and that is also part of this trick. But the next few steps are to always curl your lashes, because if you lift your lashes with a curler, it will make the world of a difference. It will enhance any mascara that you use, and in between coats of mascara, either you apply 1, 2, 3, whatever, always use a lash comb or a lash separator. These two are my ride or die. They are both from Japanese. This is the lash curler and this is the lash separator. So what I do is, before I apply the mascara, I curl my lashes, and listen, I try to get as close to the root as possible, because if you don't get right in the root, it will just create this 90-degree angle on your lashes and it's going to look really weird. So just make sure that you get as close to the roots as possible, and make sure that you do some pulsing motions to curl the lashes to the fullest. And also make sure to cover all the lashes, and if you cannot cover them all at once, start by the inner corner and navigate outwards. I don't think you guys can see it in the camera, especially because I don't have like super long lashes, but this lifts the lashes so much that once you apply the mascara, it is going to be way more noticeable. I have been loving this mascara from Tarte. This is the Lights Camera Lashes. It is super lengthening, super volumizing. This is one layer of mascara. After this layer, and before it gets dry, I am going in with a lash separator. The fact that you are separating the lashes makes you look like you have a lot more, so it kind of adds to the volume. And if your mascara tends to leave crumbs or tends to stick your lashes together, this will also fix that. The lashes are coming back to life. Moving on to the next makeup tip that I can give you, which is all about a sharp overlining of the lips that doesn't make you look like a puffer fish. So first of all, after so many creams, I'm just going in with my powder puff on top of my lips. And by the way, I've already removed the lip balm, because if your lips are dry, the lip pencil will grab onto the skin a lot better. It is just going to have a much better grip. And I am taking this one from Zoeva. This is the Velvet Love lip liner in the shade Celine. I got this one in PR recently, and when I got it, I was like, there is no way this is going to work on me. This is definitely going to look like Barbie pink. But it didn't, guys. I was so surprised, honestly. It is as pink as I've ever gone without looking too bright on me. And when it comes to the overlining part, you only want to overline the center of your lips. Just leave the outer part alone. And the way that I find it the easiest to kind of like not misplace the product is to keep the pencil kind of like this. I put my hand on my chin, and this gives me a lot more stability, and I overline only the center. And since the lips are super dry, the application is also going to look super sharp. But yeah, guys, as you can see, like, it looks a little bit crazy, but you can already see the difference, but it's still going to look natural because I'm going to stick to the lines on the outer part. Obviously, I'm just going to connect in the middle, and I also overline in here, but then I connect to the natural lines of my lips instead of just going all over. And guys, when it comes to this lip pencil, it is super long lasting. It is actually very hard to remove, but I honestly prefer it like this because this does not budge at all. The Soft Matte Lip Cream from NYX in the shade Abu Dhabi, and the Fenty Gloss Bomb in the shade Sweet Mouth. I am honestly obsessed with this gloss. These are things that I have learned over the years, like makeup tips, makeup techniques, and that I have implemented that I feel like made the world of a difference, and that definitely took my makeup to the next level. So I just wanted to do a video and share them all with you guys. And if you end up trying any of these, let me know in the comments how they worked for you, and also share with me if you are already doing any.